Holy Spirit, guide us during our discussions. Give us wisdom concerning the issues that we face. Lord, we give you the glory for what we accomplish. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Clerk will take the roll.
Supervisor Ledke,
Here.
Supervisor Milliburn,
Here.
Supervisor Parker,
Here.
Supervisor Olson,
Here.
Supervisor Searing.
First order of business is the approval of the agenda. Nope.
I'd like to make two changes if possible. On the consent agenda, under the claims, page 35 through 37, it's an invoice from Kennedy and Graven, a very large one. I would like to pull that one out of claims. And the other one is I would like to add under 13, a 13A, let's just call it HR. That would meet my proposals.
Any other changes?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Planning and zoning.
We have two applications for the alternate member for planning and zoning. I've looked at both of them. It would be really hard to pick between the two. The only reason to pick Nygren is because of where he lives. We already have somebody up in the Betcher Farms area. So this man lives down on Linwood Lake, on the other side of Linwood Lake. You come down on by CJ's and go down Lexington. And that would be the only reason. The other thing I wondered is, and I'll ask Carrie this, if this person might be interested in parks, would you want to consider them? I could ask her. I know you don't. Okay, so I would like to recommend that planning and zoning picks Paul for our alternate.
Would you like to make that a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we pick Paul for the alternate for planning and zoning.
Is there a second? A second? Is there a second? It fails for no second.
Okay.
Anybody other discussion out here then?
The only thing I would say is what I've expressed before is we somehow develop a process so it isn't just picking, being able to come up with something for the applicants to be able to understand too, then the expectation afterwards. In the case of planning and zoning, there's a lot of land use stuff that would go into it too. What are we going to provide for a training within so soon of them being appointed, being able to participate in some meetings beforehand. If that came across, that's just my stance on the committees in general. So I don't believe it right just to pick names.
I don't think we do that for Family Fun Day.
I agree. We shouldn't.
Well, the truth is it's hard enough to get anybody for planning and zoning, and I think the training is important. But first we have to get a person to train them.
Any other discussion? We have two people that applied.
So has there been discussions with the individuals?
I don't know. I don't think there's been any discussion. I think that they've
Just
heard there was the opening and they stepped forward and put their name in the hat to do this, to be on an alternate for the planning and zoning.
And
So
planning and zoning said at their meeting that the town board would pick someone to be on planning and zoning.
I don't think we have that much changeover from alternates. They pretty much stay in there until.
Our two alternates have become permanent members now for planning and zoning.
Anybody else's thoughts between the two? and she didn't agree. I didn't get a second for Paul, Mr. Nygren. Is there a motion for Nicole Beck? Anybody? Do you want to just leave this empty for this time? I mean, we put it.
I don't wanted,
I mean, we sit here and we advertise to have somebody
That's my
take,
point. We advertise for it, but then the process is picking a name. I just soon develop a,
I actually know
process.
Paul too, so. And, I don't know. You want to come up with a process, that's fine with me. We'll just not have anybody until that process happens.
so we have one opening for one alternate. Is that what they have as one alternate?
Yes.
Well, we should fill the slot. We have two interested people here. You want to flip a coin out there and somebody yell heads, pick the one that way, or do you want to make a motion that we take one or the other? I'll make a motion we accept Paul Nygren.
I'll second it.
Now discussion.
I'm still in the same boat. That's why I won't support it either candidate until there's a process. And that's just coming from the standpoint of trying to have equality and even the playing field across things. So.
Any more discussion?
So when we talk process, are we looking at like a scoring system? I mean, what, does anybody have a vision of what at a high level that process would be?
We could revisit as a jumping off point, those options I presented last year, in terms of just having the things in play of you're exactly that. If you've attended a meeting, they understand it, the commitment of it. And, I've heard concerns about attendance with committee members before. Do we have a requirement of that? Just things to put it in place to have things be equal all around.
Is the next P and Z meeting before our next board meeting or after? It's after, isn't it?
After the next one.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey,
Motion carries. Would you please contact Mr. Nygren and inform him? All right.
Can I ask a planning and zoning question? It's
Go
almost April 1st. Planning and zoning is losing their supervisor or their liaison in 9 months, 8 months. What is our plan? Are we gonna plan something to get somebody grooved in on this? Is that why you go to the meetings once in a while and you go to the meetings once in a while? I just don't know where we're going because I mean, she's been at this for years and years and,
No, actually, I haven't, but
oh, you haven't been on planning and zoning that long?
no, only about 3 years.
Oh, well, 3 more years than I've been on it. I don't know anything about planning and zoning, but I just don't know if it's time to prepare, kind of like we're trying to prepare to fill our clerk's role in the next couple of years. We're trying to prepare to, if you plan to fail, you fail to plan. So that's my only concern. Are we gonna think of having a supervisor start piggybacking on Supervisor Searing to learn more about this, or are we just gonna wait till January 1 and?
So are you officially saying Supervisor Syrian is not running?
No, if she doesn't want planning and zoning next year.
And we could say that for all the different
You're right.
committees, so.
You're right. I'm just concerned that if there is an opening on planning and zoning for a supervisor, what are we gonna do? Cause
I think Mike Parker had it longer than I did.
Time for recording time.
So it's not
Maybe
like
we do
somebody
have a
else
plan.
doesn't know.
If it comes down to that, yes.
maybe we do have a plan then. Okay, good,
I had planning and zoning for about 6 years.
good.
So,
Okay.
all right. Parks.
Oh, we had a phenomenal meeting last night. Man, oh man, was it a great meeting. Got one thing answered right away. The signs come out of the park dedication money. Got that one answered right away. Our park chair and her other half found another park in Linwood Township that I never knew about. I don't know if anybody in this building knew about it, but there's another park off of Thames, south of 22. There's a 1.87 acre park that we never knew was there. So now we have 17? Now we have 17 parks in Linwood Township. So congratulations to the park department. That is awesome. A weed control bid came from Shermack Tree Farm for $5,800. Park board is all for that. If that can go back to the board and get approval, they are okay with it. So, I would make a motion to hire Shermack Tree Farms at $5,800 for weed control in the parks.
Got a motion to hire Shermack to do the weed control. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been seconded. How many treatments do they do, Bob?
They do 2 early and 2 late.
Okay.
So 4 total. They're doing Playful Shadows, Olympic Greens, Betcher, Broadbent, and Town Hall East. Last year, they were 5,300. This year, they're 5,800.
Did they ever come up with something for the
No.
numbers?
No.
You knew I was gonna ask that.
No. Everybody does. It's just a chemical that's about impossible to find these days.
Okay.
I know one of the park board members was kind of digging around on Google and they actually sell something that'll pick them up, so. Doesn't cure-
Pick them up.
Yeah, I think basically it's a giant wheel made out of socks and you just roll through and connect them, but it doesn't fix anything, but it picks up the sandburrs, so we're not at that point to buy that yet, but.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else? Next.
This group talked about a grant writer. Are we moving forward with finding a grant writer?
I've been in contact with one. I
Oh.
don't have any,
Okay.
they haven't submitted their proposal
Okay.
yet. They do have, I've contacted one.
Okay, the only reason I asked that is we got another bid on hockey rink lights last night, and it was almost half of our first bid. So we'd love to jump up and attack that, but if we're in the process of chasing grant writers, right? That's kind of what we like to do, is find out what we can do with grant writers. The best thing about the hockey rink, we do not have to replace the poles and we do not have to replace any wiring. All the wiring is solid. So that's why it came in at $23,500 instead of 47 like the first one, but weed control we did. John, I am gonna look at that red wall. I was gonna last night, but then I looked outside and realized it snowed and I didn't walk up there. But the park committee would like that replaced. But I will go up there and look at it, get a material list, show it to them, and then I'll probably go buy the material and we'll get that taken care of. Am I missing anything? Okay, our park tour is April 22nd at 5 o'clock. We're gonna find out in about 3 more. We need maintenance there or not, so yeah. So that's when our park tour is. Snow will be gone, somebody promised, so.
All right, well, if you have more than 2 board members, you're gonna need to post that.
Yep.
It's posted, if there's a route or what parks they're going to.
Okay, we actually talked about that. Do we want to do that? How, like last night, we kind of talked if your park you want looked at or Sarah's park she wants looked at, that kind of be part of our groove.
There's a couple that we always go to, but what we had asked is each park board member that day. Not going to go to all of the parks, we just don't have time. Based on need, we will create a list of a couple that we know for sure we're going to.
Are you gonna need that early? At least a week before?
Are you starting here?
Right here.
That's all I need.
Okay.
That some public asks, where will they be? So, because they're not, can't ride with you, but they might meet you at different parks, but I'll just let them know you're starting here.
And you'll post it for 5 o'clock?
Yes.
Super, thank you very much.
That was what's the date?
22nd of April.
And are other supervisors then invited?
I think any supervisor's invited. It's a beautiful day to look at the parks.
And then you're gonna post in case there's more than two of us?
That's what we just said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll be posted. Anything else?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
All right. Going to old business, Anoka County Fire Protection Budget. Chief, you want to speak to it?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So it's kind of twofold tonight. The first one is to get the approval to pay the 2024 allocated cost of 5926. And that's from last year, and that we already voted on that through the council. So this is something that we have to pay.
We approved that last year.
We approved it last year. Well, no, we didn't. That's why we're bringing it to the board now. And that'll be the second step of the process to vote on the 2025 allocated cost. So 2023, we voted on 2024. That's where the 5926 comes in. We are entitled to pay that. Need a fireman.
Stand by to stand by, folks.
At least nobody's running out.
Good. Did you see that staff move into action? That is training. I cover this room, you cover that room. And you guys do this.
We covered this room. We had.
You made sure.
We had our evacuation plan all set to go. We knew exactly where we were going to come back and said there was fire.
Yeah, cancel tones.
All right. So we need to
Excuse me
approve.
one second.
fif-
You gotta call dispatch. They just toned.
Oh. Great, we have a bunch of firemen coming to the meeting.
I'm thinking something in the maintenance garage. Could be temperature, could be.
Anybody go in the maintenance garage and open the door and
Yeah,
look?
Jack's in there. right
He
now.
is? Oh,
They're just getting the plows back in and stuff, so it might have temperature sensor thing.
And nobody else moved. We need to have a fire drill.
We were home.
No, here's the thing. We already had a plan. We discussed it.
Did you, that was, you talked about the plan.
I did.
It's
That's
too
all-
cold to go
I
outside.
said, if we have it, there's our two exits. We go out the doors, we go out the door. If they come back, so there's fire.
right, too much snow, the door won't open.
Then we go the other one.
No, that one's not gonna open.
We got 4 doors to get out of here on.
That might be true because ours were a problem this morning.
And then my truck door was a bear to open this morning. All the rain, it's pretty.
Well, mine was fine. I made it to work in the pouring rain, but then when I got in my car at 1 o'clock to leave, then they were all frozen.
Mhm.
The initial invoice for 5926, that was already voted on. And that's where we got this invoice from. So that's,
I'll make a motion, we paid the invoice of 5926.
26.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So that's for 24.
that's for 24, correct?
Just got that bill.
Yep, so this
is-
was voted on in 23, 24, 2024. Now tonight we'll be voting on 2024 for 2025.
Okay, any more discussion? We're having all kinds of fun tonight. All those in favor,
have an
signify by
invoice for
saying aye.
There's no
Aye.
invoice.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
There's no invoice.
Yes,
There's an
Right
invoice.
yes, Alyssa's got the invoice on this.
Okay.
So we just needed to approve to pay.
Okay.
But you already got this, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll send it to you.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Go again, sir.
The second step is to approve Supervisor Olson, if he's available on April 25th, to come as the elected official and vote on the 2025 allocated cost. And that's going to be 6,400, which is an increase of 8%, as you see across the board.
And that's what they'll invoice us this time next year.
Correct.
That was it.
Yes.
Yeah, this time next.
And then all the paperwork, I mean, this allocated cost is based on run volume and population. Didn't really have any bearing on the 8%. The budget went up. That's where that increase was from this year. So
So the total budget went up 8%, not our portion.
our portion went up 8%. If you look in the final column, you'll see all the departments on what their increase was.
Not a very good mathematician, but it's only $74.
Mhm.
Now we went up to 6,400 from 59 to 6,400.
Yeah, 59.26. Oh, I am a terrible mathematician.
Okay, there you go.
Missed $400 in there.
Wow.
Okay, the only thing is I wanted the chief to bring this here because we're going to have supervisor going to go to this meeting. He's going to vote to spend money. So he has to have approval. That's why I wanted to make a motion to allow him to approve this with our portion being approximately $6,400.
And again, that could change if this number is voted down by the council. And then we have to go back and run some numbers, but usually once this number is set, all the elected officials and chiefs vote on it, and it's usually a yes vote. So, but there's always that chance it may go up, it may go down.
Yeah. I'll make the motion we allow Supervisor Olson to vote for this contract.
The amount that-
The amount up to $6,400 for our portion. It may go up, we may have to come back again, but at least for our section up to $6,400.
Correct.
I've got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you for your discussion. Moved and seconded. Discussion? Thanks, Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Chief, what's next?
Yep, that's it. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
The reason that Mr. Olson is going to be attending this is because I will be out of town for the month of April. Video streaming and retention policy. Pam sent all this information out. Everybody have a chance to go over it and look at it?
We did.
Okay. Also in your pack, when I look at it, Pam, you want to speak to it?
No.
Okay. So this is what you've got in here. The policy has been written. If you look down for what she's got typed up here, she took it all from the red line copy and all the copies and all the comments from the attorneys all in there. Is there a motion to accept the video streaming and retention policy?
I will make a motion to accept the policy.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Record retention schedule, be the next on the agenda. Out here and get to where this is. Pam?
That one I can speak to.
Okay,
So by bringing in the records or the video streaming, that was not part of our records retention schedule. It's just not on there. And so that's kind of what sparked this. But it's kind of a snowball effect because once you actually get looking at a schedule, you realize it really is not accurate, not working. So I had asked the board about being able to, well, we need to update it to include the video streaming, but then in going through it, there's also things throughout time that we've been retaining that weren't on the schedule. I started through the process of amending what the town board here adopted in 1991 was the general records retention schedule that's available online. And there's been very few changes to it, the online version, and what we've been held to since 1991. And like everything else, it's very, very outdated. It does not actually portray a lot of the records that we are required to keep. So I've been working with the Historical Society down there and discovered that rather than working through every single little amendment, we can actually create our own schedule and that actually reflects the documents that we retain here. I looked at what a records retention schedule for the cities is much more accurate because on the township schedule, it's really built for small townships and who doesn't really have zoning. They don't have much for employees. They don't have administrative. They don't have a lot of the stuff that Linwood Township has. We are allowed to create our own. And I guess that's what I'm proposing for the board, working off of the city's records retention schedule and eliminating stuff that doesn't apply. I did leave something at each of your places there. My concept of it would be to eliminate the things that we contract for. So we contract for assessing. So it's really not our obligation to keep all of the assessor's records. That's in their office. We contract for police. All of their body cam, all of their patrol records, we're not obligated to keep, which is on the retention schedule for cities. Health services, we don't manage hospitals, we don't get involved in people's health care. Housing and redevelopment, again, we contract through the county for that. So they're required to track all of that information. Now, obviously, this does not mean communications with them. We're still responsible for keeping our communications, but the actual administration of those things, we don't have a library, and townships aren't allowed to have liquor stores. So I would remove those parts of it. Utilities, we don't provide utilities, so we would be able to remove that portion of it. And vital statistics, again, marriage licenses, birth certificates, those are maintained at other levels of the government. So we would not keep those in there. But there's things, such simple things as there's nothing in our schedule that talks about data practices, the requests on how long we have to keep them. I mean, that's been around for a very long time, and yet the township schedule doesn't contain that. Divisions and combinations of property, absolutely, we track that because we need to know what was the parent of this property, and then it gets split down into children. But we need to be able to track it to be able to look back on what were these. There's nothing in our township one that deals with how long you keep emails, social media stuff, phone messages. There's nothing in our schedule there. So direct deposit authorizations, we have to have them for payroll, but there's nothing in our current schedule. So like I say, when Alyssa and I were going through it, it's like, this doesn't, we're keeping the documents. We base a lot of stuff on 6 years because that's what a lot of the stuff is. But I think it's time to move the township into something that is more accurate because we have to keep a schedule, a report of everything that we do retain. So I guess what I'm asking for is the board to give staff permission to move forward. We will bring this back to the board because it has to go through the State Historical Society, the Attorney General. I mean, there's all kinds of things. They'll look at what we're proposing. And again, we'll base it on what's acceptable for townships, but then also adding into things that are, what basis do cities use for retaining their things? So like I say, I would like to bring that back to the board and have you look at it, but I guess also have you trust our judgment? Because I know you guys don't know every single document, and it's going to go through a very thorough review in several other agencies before it comes back and they approve it for us. And then it's something that once it's actually a current document, we'll be able to keep current. So if something else does come up, we can much more easily add it to our schedule.
I'll make the motion to allow the staff to set up a retention schedule for what actually pertains to the township. And then bring it back to the board once they get this put together so we can see exactly what it is.
Second it.
Then moved and seconded discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
We have next is the park attendant position.
So I hear we have one applicant.
Yes.
Okay, it was approved, it was budgeted for. It's not on the website.
It is not, when we talked about it the last time, we were gonna leave it on the sign and it was gonna come back. That's what was my understanding. I didn't know, I knew we approved the job description, but I honestly did not know we approved position. And like I told you today, I can throw it on the website tomorrow if that's the way we want to go, but I still have a problem with, can we really afford this ongoing? And can we really do 2 full-time maintenance men in a 20-hour position? I don't know. I guess I'd like John to talk about it because it's he's the one that supervises the maintenance and he knows whether they were able to keep themselves busy all fall, winter on this kind of a winter. Go ahead, John.
So kind of jumping ahead on what I was gonna cover a little later in the agenda, but so I have a thought. And that thought is because one of the things that we talked about was, to Carol's point, spring and fall, there's not a lot of parks activities probably taking place. And then it's like, what do you do with a person that's on the payroll 20 hours a week? So a little bit later in the agenda, we have a resignation that's before the board for a part-time public works employee. So what I'm hoping to do and what I'm going to propose to the board is moving forward to replace that person. We've already got money that's paid out every year, so it's in the budget. It might not be 20 hours a week, but it is in the budget. My thought is that given that doing lawn care and flooding the rink is a very minimal amount of dedication of somebody's time, I was gonna propose to the board that what we do is we replace the person that's resigning with a 20-hour-a-week person. That person will be more dedicated to the parks. We know that that person in the summer isn't gonna have enough time to mow all the grass, so they're gonna have to be subsidized by one or both of the public works guys. So they're going to be shifting their time, so it kind of allows an ebb and flow. When there's more parks work that's got to be done, you know, now we have 2.5 people that we can utilize for that. And when there's not enough park stuff going on, that part-time employee can be out helping hot patch or whatever other public works tasks are to be done. And I think it might be a more kind of a smarter way of doing allocation of hours so that we can get the best value out of each one of those employees' time. So again, kind of jumping ahead on the agenda, but you know, since Carol asked, I thought I'd throw that out there, but I think that might be a smarter way that we move forward.
My question here I have now is, in your meeting to cut the budget that we're looking for, we're looking to having this money to be able to hire these people. That was in that budget, and they cut our budget by $75,000. Do we know where that money is going to be cut from, and do we have the money to spend on this other employee now? Just pitching it out there, folks. Just,
Yep.
It is what it is. So I'm just wanting to let you know, we're down 75,000 that we were looking for. So I don't know what the 20-hour week employee would cost us a year.
Well, the good thing I think is that if we, because right now we have a certain amount of hours, and I didn't go and look to see how many hours our part-time public works employee that's resigning worked in a year, but that's being paid out right now. So if we were to replace that person with another person that was filling those duties, that's part of the hours of that 20 hours of a parks employee. So that way we're not bearing the entire burden of 20 hours a week. You know, our total overall expenditure is going to be the 20 hours a week minus whatever the part-time public works employee was working. So it puts us in a little bit better financial situation going into 25.
Okay, Carol?
The person that's resigning is going to keep some portions of the job. He's going to keep the driveway and he's going to keep he does the pictures, and those two things will continue. So I don't think, at least for right now, so I don't think you can have all the hours, but we can look at what hours are what.
We need to get down to this here. It is his job, he has a job description. Is that written in his job description to do the driveway stuff? Is that all in?
That's a different, that may be a different job description.
Well, this is what I'm trying to figure out. Is that included in that job description, or are they two separate job descriptions?
I don't know.
There's no job description.
So he has no job description. Okay, Andy?
Okay. I feel we're getting out of order and then that even convolutes things even more then, so And
You know, but we're not even there yet.
I-
Let's wait till we get there.
that's what I'm saying. That's why I want to make sure we're not getting out of work, because that's different information altogether that I don't understand. But at this, if we're talking this position has to exist. I mean, and the park tour, go on that and you'll see that. And I mean, you can allude to just the tasks and the items getting done. And if this is, I see a great opportunity to be able to supplement and be able to congruently work on projects and get us further. I think there's a way that we can look towards that and find a solution that benefits the township.
Unless I'm mistaken, that exact thing was brought up before. To have that person, when things were slow, they would either help recycling or help maintenance, and that was kind of like shot down. Like a low flying goose, but now we're bringing it up that that's a great idea. That's why we brought it up when we first brought this whole thing up, that it's not that person for 9 months out of the year is gonna be swamped putting these parks back together. I think, I agree. I think it's a great idea that they'll be working anywhere else in the township. But, we always hear the same thing. Can we afford it? How much did we spend on grass cutters 2 years ago? I thought it was right around $42,000. That was after wages and unemployment.
So with the wages, work comp, motor fuel, repairs and maintenance to them was $35,799.
Okay, so if we hire a 20-hour person, is that $20,800? Is that your math? Cause I mean, if it's a $400 a week,
So this was for having them, they worked 24 hours each, so it's 48 hours for the both of them. Looking into it in 2024 for the budget for parks, they had only earmarked $5,000 and that was for a flooding rink attendant. So when you state that, yeah, we have the money in there, okay, well, we only budgeted $5,000 extra and that was for a rink attendant. As far as 2025, moving forward, net wages are budgeted at 38,000, but they don't state what it's for. 2022, I will say that the total spent was $31,903 in wages. But that's just the straight wages, and that doesn't include all of the other stuff that comes with them wages. 2023, we were under budget, but it was a very dry season and we did not have sprinklers running. So you got to take a lot into the concept with that. And as far as the concept of the part-time and the hours that he worked, I just calculated that out. He averaged 9.35 hours a week. So
but 2023, we did very little grass cutting and we did zero maintenance. So every time we hear, can we afford this person? Can we afford not to have this person?
Okay, one more thing, and then I'll back up. I do believe this person cannot work in recycling. Because if they work in recycling, recycling has to pay them. And recycling doesn't have the money to pay them.
And if they come into the maintenance garage, maintenance has to pay for them.
That's right. And I don't know if the maintenance, if they have the money to pay for it or not. I don't know that.
That's what I'm suggesting is almost 10 hours a week average is what's paid out right now for that part-time person. So you're only adding another 10 point some hours a week for the parks employee,
just in
but
general.
it gives us a better opportunity to
Said you take
shift
hours.
workloads back and forth
They're thinking
to more efficiently use 2.5 people.
I was invited at my.
Okay. So what's the board want to do? Do you want them to advertise? What do you want to do?
My suggestion is to hold off and let's look at integrating the two positions into one.
Anybody else's thoughts?
I'd be in favor of that and discussing that then with parks, because this is obviously new
Yeah, that's,
to them, but it's.
well, I would like to sit down with the maintenance supervisor if we're gonna move in that direction. So at the next board meeting, we can decide if we're doing this or not, because I don't want to wait any longer.
And I'll make a motion, we table this till the next meeting.
Second.
Moving to second discussion,
But so I'm not putting it on the website, right?
not until the next meeting, not until we decide what we're gonna do.
Does that allow enough time then for Parks input with their next meeting? Or what
We
the-
just don't have time to wait. I mean, I might drag.
That's, I mean, as long
I
as.
might, when I'm talking to Supervisor Olson, I might drag the park chair with me. Cause we gotta get this done. It's already been approved
Yes.
and Parks budgeted for it. And that's why I wanna go fast on this. I'll meet with Supervisor Olson whenever he wants.
Any more discussion? All in favor of tabling this to the next meeting, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Employee handbook review. Okay,
Let's see. I don't remember how long ago it was. It was, I believe, the end of February, beginning of February. The board met and talked about some of the changes for the employee handbook, and then it was sent off to the attorney. And what you have, you do have it on your computers. It's not in your meeting packet because it was really big. But it is a tab there that you can open, is the employee handbook. There's a lot of attorney's comments in there. You can see where some of the things he's added, he's taken out some of the stuff that was in our handbook. Some of the stuff that was proposed, he's moved stuff around. I guess when I sent it out, I don't know if this is something you want to tackle tonight in this board meeting, or if you want to workshop it, or I'm
I think
It's
there's
telling you
enough
it's
stuff-
back
I
from the
think there's
attorney.
enough stuff in here that we could almost do a workshop on this to go through this. Anybody else's thoughts?
That would be mine.
Yes.
All right, so I'll make a motion that this is tabled for tonight and we'll set up a workshop for this and so we can all sit down and go over it and at least get into get a little bit thicker in the bushes with this. 'Cause there's a lot of changes and stuff on here and I don't think one meeting tonight, this meeting tonight's gonna do it. So make a motion, we table this until we can get a work night scheduled for it.
Second.
Moving second to discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Sunrise River Watershed.
Can we set the date at,
Oh.
I would suggest we set the date at the next meeting. that
Let's
we
set
can
it at the
just
next meeting.
Then we can review this stuff beforehand and then we'll,
Do we know how far we gotta get into this, so.
because I got a question on comments too, just about the Board of Appeals, because now one of our dates that we had now has a conflict with Martin Lakers. So we can figure out the dates in there.
Do we have a time frame to have the employee handbook signed off on?
No.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Now back to Sunrise River Watershed. I see we have a letter of interest.
So, after staff searched and, they came up with one letter of interest. The gentleman's name, is Ben Harker. I have talked to Ben. If you look at his credentials, they are very well aligned with somebody to, act on the Sunrise Watershed Management Organization. Some that are extremely aligned, in terms of his, doing like stormwater pollution prevention plan, as a designer and inspector, which is, I don't think you can ask anybody to have better credentials than that. So, I'm very happy in my discussion with Ben, so I would move that we appoint Ben Harker as the Sunrise Watershed Management Organization alternate.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Yeah, I do. I have a question.
Quicker.
My question would be to Andy. And why don't we need a process for this if we need a process for planning and zoning? I need a
So-
clarification.
In the sense that we should, but this one be an external committee. This is one that comes through like this. I would agree too, but if you've, at this point, this is how we gotta do stuff. It's got qualifications all right there.
More discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Please inform Mr. Harker, he is now on the alternate for Sunrise River Watershed. Next. Martin Lake Shoreland Stabilization.
Second.
Somebody gonna speak to this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see Pam going through her stuff over there, I apologize.
Do you want Jamie's email?
Yes, you got it. Um, so Jamie just dropped an email and just said that the construction on the Martin Lake Shoreland stabilization that didn't happen this winter because there was no ice. It's anticipated to begin the week of April 15th or 22nd, weather permitting. They plan to make some use of the no access area with the sign, the no parking sign, near the Martin Lake outlet for the staging. This was previously approved by the town board. I was just given some information I thought was very interesting, so I'd like to share with you is that the Martin Lakers group, so this is a $75,000 grant that they received. And the Martin Lakers group donated $6,700 to that project, so just thought I would share that. But again, just a heads up that it's still gonna go, but just not gonna come at it from a different angle.
I'd say,
John.
he's gonna go across the ice. All right, anything else? New business, road maintenance proposals. I happen to have bid proposals right here in my hand. All right. And contract for road grading services. What have I got? Roadside mowing and street sweep. What's the person on the ditch mowing? Okay, let me find my ditch mowing on here. All right. Ditch mowing. I've got two here. I'm gonna make it a big mess up here. You should give me a trash can. First one I have is from DW Dirtworks. It must be Dirtworks. And the second one I have here is from Shermack Tree Farms. Shermack, they list for equipment an Almo boom mower and rotary brush cutter that pulls of $148 an hour. And DW Companies lists as equipment John Deere or New Holland tractor and a mower at $190 per hour.
Those are the only two bids
These are the
for,
only two bids we have for roadside ditch mowing.
all right. Yeah, I would have been willing to entertain a lower bid, but that other one came in higher. We have experience with Shermick Farms. And that was 148, is that right?
$148 an hour.
Yeah, so I would make a motion that we accept Shermick Farms bid of $148 per hour for ditch mowing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, so that's Shermack.
Same
Sure, Matt.
company.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. We can talk afterwards if you want.
I don't think you got any other complaints.
That was nice, Brady.
No matter what we do, there's
Yeah.
complaints.
Just throwing it out.
Yep, yep, I appreciate it.
All right, next one is contract for road grading. Looks like I got got three in here. All right. I've got three proposals. North Metro Site Works. They've got a John Deere, and I can't read what kind of grader, 772A grader. And I think it's Champion 720A, proposed $140 an hour. I have Shermick Tree Farms. They have a Cat 140G and a Volvo 720G at $150 an hour. And I've got DW Companies. And they show a John Deere motor grader 772 or 872 with auto control blade slope. They come in at $190 an hour. So the low bid is North Metro Site Works at 140. Shermick is at 150 and DW is at 190.
So do we know anything about the first company that you mentioned, North Metro?
All I know is they're out of Harris.
And what about the equipment? I'm not
Their
familiar with
equipment
the
is a
equipment.
772A grader, which is the same thing that must be a John Deere, same type of equipment that DW is gonna use. Shermick uses a Cat 140G and a Volvo 720G.
Do we know, does anybody have any history with North Metro?
Okay. All right. So North Metro is actually the gentleman Brennan who used to work with Keller. He bought Keller out and changed his name, separate entity, everything else. So Keller was doing our road grading previously, so all of that equipment that was used previously, and actually Brennan was our road grader, so that is what I know.
Didn't he come here and talk to us
I think he came in.
right before?
Yeah, but he was still the same.
Yeah, he was still the
He didn't
same,
change the name of his company.
right. But
Now
now
he
he
did.
has.
Is there mobilization then if he's coming from Harris or is he leaving?
It just says $140 an hour.
That's always the big question, why a lot of companies don't, because as soon as they leave Harris, they're on the clock. But I don't know what his schedule is, if it would be parking the grader right there until he grades or what, it's like.
I don't know if it was on the proposal. There wasn't. No.
I don't know if this is appropriate because I'm still the new guy, but I'm gonna hang on to that till I'm off the board. I'd like to, if it's possible, I'd like to table this until the next meeting so I could talk to North Metro. Just to find out, I got a few questions about, like Bob was saying, transport. Are we paying for a lot of mileage coming down to our township or not? The other thing is if he's gonna use one grader or if he's gonna use multiple pieces of equipment. One thing that Shermick Farms does is they actually have two guys grading with two different graders at the same time. Not that it changes the cost per hour, but they can cover after a rainfall, they can cover the township a lot quicker. But
North Metro does have a second piece of equipment listed with
yeah,
it too.
I just want to make sure they're running both of them.
Yeah.
So if that would be okay, I'd like to table this till the next meeting, so I'd have an opportunity to talk to him if that is not out of character. Is that a practice that's been done in the past, or am I asking for something special?
No, that's absolutely, that makes sense to check out the equipment and any questions you would have. Our specs do not, we don't really have road grading specs because we've always used people that we knew or knew what the equipment was. Just a reminder for the board that you need to take the lowest responsible bid. Responsible being the key word there.
Yeah, that's why I'd like to talk to him. So I'm gonna make a motion to table this until the next meeting.
Second.
The time starts when he is at Linwood.
Oh,
Oh,
that's good to know
Watch.
too.
Mhm,
Thank you.
correct.
So does that make a difference in people's thoughts?
Nope, I'd still like to talk to him about his equipment.
Okay. Moved and seconded to,
Table until the
is it
next
table to the
meeting.
next meeting?
Mhm.
Can you get this up to next meeting?
Yep.
All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, last but not least, street sweeping.
So this one I talked about at our short meeting before the annual meeting. Just to clarify, that part of the reason why it was a little disjointed of a conversation was just before the meeting, I was notified that we had a failure on one of the salt trucks, one of the plow trucks, and we had left a row of salt over on Genghis or Gurgis or whatever it is, which was right off from the end of when they would do street sweeping on West Martin Lake. So my hopes is that if we had moved forward with the bid at that, or a contractor at that point without doing bids, we just have them pick up that last street and get the salt out of there. Just before the meeting, I found out that we also had it on about 7 other roads and they were not near here. So I ended up having to hire a contractor to come in specifically to clean up the salt off the road. There was an excessive amount. So that kind of took that whole purpose for trying to move forward in the last meeting without a bid process off the table. What I'd like to do is authorize staff to move forward with the bid process for street sweeping. But adding on, there are 4, 5, 6, 7 roads up in the northwest corner of Fawn Lake. Last year, when there was so much salting and sanding that was taking place on the roads, our supplier ran out of salt sand and used salt with blue chip rock in it, kind of like what you'd use for crack sealing. That stuff doesn't wash off like sand does. And up in that Fawn Lake area, their yards slope down to the road instead of from the road away. So it's pooled and it sits in large pockets. So those 7 roads I'd like to get in on the first of the 4 street sweeping. So there's going to be a little added cost to that. So, but that would be the only additional ones. A couple other places that had that same blue chip rock. I drove those roads a couple weeks ago and they've all washed off. So only up in Fawn Lake where the roads or where the yards taper to the road, we've still got a problem. So what I'd like to do is move to authorize staff to go out for bids, including the 7 streets up in Fawn Lake, and I will provide those street names to the clerk so that she can go out with those. And again, that would only be for the first of the 4 street sweepings.
Does that have to be a separate bid, Pam? Or can we add it to this contract that we're trying to get right now?
No, I think you need to go out again because it's different. Or you would go out just for those extra 7 streets. I think I would start over again.
Right. There's a motion
So the
to-
board can choose to reject.
There's a motion to reject these bids for street sweeping. I got 2 bids. One's from DW Companies, using a Freightliner Elgin sweeper truck at a proposal.
I would not say that,
Oh,
I would not say, I wouldn't go any further with it.
Cool. All right. Is there a motion to reject all bids for street sweeping?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, that is it for contracts. All right. Now, firewall renewal. Oh, by the way, Pam, I couldn't sign the one for the mowing because there's not a signable sheet on here.
I'll get the contracts ready.
Okay. Okay, firewall renewal. Pam? Somebody?
So, the firewall here at the township, it is up for renewal next week, this week. It's up for renewal. You've got before you a proposal. This is for the license for it, the subscription license. This is not for actually, replacing the hardware. We'll talk about that shortly, but for right now, this is, just to renew the subscription. And again, this is a firewall. This is what protects things coming in to our server. There's two quotes here. One is for a 1-year renewal at $555.50, and the other one is a 2-year renewal, and that is at $910.39.
It's cheaper to go for two than it is for one.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we move forward with the 2-year lease for the firewall renewal at $910.39.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Cemetery Committee.
I talked to Craig today and, our thought was that we would put, this won't be a ongoing committee forever. This is a committee to look at the south end of the cemetery and come up with a plan. He has identified several people with certain skills, like one person on road and bridge, another person on road and bridge. And we'll have a secretary, and then he wants someone who knows the cemetery really well. And I don't want to use the name because he hasn't asked yet. So it would be like 5 people, one being a secretary, and their focus would be on that part of the cemetery. So, I'd like to move forward with that.
Make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the cemetery committee to look at the south end of the cemetery.
Is there a second?
Second.
Has been moved and seconded to allow them to basically create another cemetery committee to look at development of the south side of the cemetery. Any discussion?
Will those members get paid? And will the secretary get paid?
The secretary will get paid, but the members will not get paid.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't know.
What's the timeline of the committee?
I don't know yet. No, it's Craig Rylander, and he is picking the people he needs to actually do the south end of the cemetery. They will come up with a plan and present it to the board, but then it needs to be engineered and a road needs to be put in, and it's just going to be 5 people. Actually, he just wanted 3, but we got 5, so. I know.
I think they pretty much have to figure out what the layout's gonna be and how it's gonna look, cause it's gonna have to be all surveyed and so there's some things they have to come up with.
Cemetery, but so the south.
You know where the
This side.
bench is, Laura?
Yeah.
That's the
There
south,
is-
that's the south side. That's the one part of the cemetery that's
Oh,
not
got it.
developed.
Yeah, okay.
The hayfield. Easiest way to say it, looks like a hayfield sitting down there.
Already
property or land that's
Yeah,
already.
Well, the township already owns that. It's just developing it. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I-
Opposed? Okay. 4 ayes, 1 nay. Maintenance helper resignation effective January 30th, 2024. Guess when did we get this letter?
January.
We lost it in the mail. Are you gonna do this, John?
It was to HR, so
I know, that's what I'm asking.
no, go ahead.
Okay, Mike Olson is officially retiring from maintenance. I believe he has another commitment that is not related, and that is training somebody to do the driveway permit procedure. So I would like to make a motion to accept the resignation for maintenance of the maintenance department for Mike Olson.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Been moved and seconded, discussion.
So there's kind of, I think, I'm a little confused on this. So there's three parts that Mike had been doing. One is public works tasks, maintenance tasks, and driveway permit tasks. So is he gonna retain, is this a resignation for all three of those pieces, or?
No,
My understanding, it's a resignation from maintenance, from public works, and not driveway permit until he gets somebody else trained. That's my understanding by reading what I'm reading.
That's
that's
what
right.
I thought I read too. The driveway permit stuff, that's getting paid out of, planning and zoning, isn't it? It's getting paid out of public works.
Building department? Does the building department pay that?
No, no, that would be, it's Public Works because it's road right away. It's road and bridge and zoning.
So if he's gonna,
He can't resign from public works.
so if he's
No,
gonna,
it's not. I didn't say Public Works. I said road and bridge.
Oh, I thought you
The
said
question
public
was,
works.
where does it get paid? It gets paid out of the road and bridge budget.
And when he gets done doing it, somebody else will do it. So it'll always be somebody.
I'm trying to understand that. So moving forward, let's say he's in there for a year and then he leaves. Somebody's gonna have to be hired to do that role.
Susan
So,
will do it.
okay, so then as part of her existing job. So she'll go out and check, measure road or the driveways and,
I believe so, yes.
okay. Okay, and then that comes out of road and bridge budget. Should we, if there's not a job description for it, just to make sure that it's clear, I mean, should we create a job description? Or at least include that task under Susan's or something?
I think it should be somewhere.
It's in her job description. It's what she was hired to do.
Okay, it's just that Mike's doing it because he has been doing it, so now it'll just eventually transition. And then it'll be the way it should be.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that, so that was confusing to me.
Okay, any more discussion? Andy?
Still confused. So this is retro to January 30th?
I don't believe he's working. I know he did a little bit of maintenance since January 30th. Maybe fix a door, but I mean, we can change it to today's date.
I guess,
No, it's important that it's the date that he resigned.
but then if he did work, I'm confused.
If you read it, it's pretty specific that he is stepping out from the Public Works part of it Bob, he offered to continue to help with building maintenance since you're there.
Yeah.
That's what he came in and did. He got that approval
Okay.
from Bob
Yep.
to do some building maintenance.
So
So right now he is, because of the changes that were made during the last reorganization meeting, I've decided as of today, I'm resigning from all public works duties, including snow plowing. So
That's what he wanted to resign from,
that's what he just did right there.
right?
So even in his letter of resignation, then he acknowledges that he was an employee of Public Works and Maintenance. And that's exactly what our other two Public Works employees are, is they're Public Works and Maintenance. So where my confusion comes in is if we allow people to pick and choose what they want to do, it's kind of an à la carte employment. I know I'm gonna have two people that are gonna submit their resignation from maintenance tomorrow morning because they only want to do public works and they don't want to have to clean the toilets and set up the senior center. You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, it's one or the other. It's not,
That's
it's not à
exactly
la
where I was
carte.
trying to go with it without, to me, the cleanest thing to get the driveway permit fix is accept the resignation of employment. And then if needed, you could contract back to do the training option. But this half in, half out employment thing, if anything, this should be just alarm bells going off on the HR challenges that we're facing here, because this is beyond the scope of what
The only thing that
Can do.
Mike Wilson did for this township, I believe, is one, he plowed. And two, he did building maintenance or other maintenance, things that our maintenance men could not do. And he trained. So that's all he did. I don't mean to minimize that, but that's what he did for the township.
But so when I move to replace him, I would be looking for somebody to do the exact same roles and responsibilities as the existing Public Works employees, unless we also deem that there's a parks element to it. So, I wasn't around when there was when Mike was brought in, so I don't know what the agreement was. I'm just saying that it got real confusing, and I wouldn't be doing myself justice if I didn't say that I was extremely angry that he resigned on January 30th and the supervisor over Public Works was not told by HR. It went to HR. It didn't go to me. I had no knowledge. The second to the last snowfall event, I had one of our Public Works employees call him to have him come in and plow. And it was at that point that he officially said, gee, you didn't know? I resigned. And that really put us at a disadvantage because I was one guy short for a snowfall.
Well, John, I told you he resigned and you said, I haven't seen the letter, so as far as I'm concerned, he didn't resign. But I did tell you.
You
I didn't have the letter, so
realize how many times I've quit a job and never really quit? I'm mad about something, I quit, or I've had enough of this. It's like people say that all the time, but until it comes before the board, like every other change of employment, every time somebody retires, every time there's a leave of absence, that comes before the board, and this one didn't, and it put us at a disadvantage in Public Works for a snowfall event. So that again, I don't have to argue about it. I just had to say it was frustrating on my
you can
part.
accept his resignation, but I would like to keep him for the purpose of training Susan on driveways. You do whatever you want as far as the rest of it. But I want to keep him for training Susan,
Oh, I support that. Absolutely, I support that.
right?
I will agree with John. Just because he sent this to HR, the rest of the supervisors on this board should have been informed that he had resigned and we no longer had him as an employee doing this job. Holding that was wrong. I will
I
totally say
didn't
it's wrong.
hold it.
The thing came out on January 30th, so somebody got this thing. Somebody had to see it, so somebody knew. So my thing was, I just think Personally, I think it was wrong. I think everybody on this board should have been notified that he was no longer working here, doing just duty. So, but at that, is there any other discussion?
Again, I support exactly the training, but at this point, you're putting the township in a quasi area again from employment standpoint. If it's this, but this and this, and then come to find out there never is a job description. If the duties are done, we can be done and then contract back for that training of whatever that's gonna take. If that individual is supposed to be doing that anyways,
What's a contract back?
a contracted individual contractor, he can train without being an employee of the township. Cause then we're just leaving open another quasi, to John's point, a pick and choose a la carte. Again, red bells here, HR. That's beyond scope. There's people out there that can coach through this. That's my 2 cents.
All right, any other discussion?
What is the actual motion?
Motion is accept the resignation of Mike Olson.
Except for driveway, is that what it read?
Was accept the resignation from the maintenance department.
There you are. You're now accepting, to Supervisor Olson's point, an a la carte employment, saying I'm not going to do this part. It says right here. Thank you.
Well, one way we can resolve this really easily is that we would have signed a contract with Mike to do the training of Susan. After this is done, we can accept the resignation and let it go. And then just, basically, is this be hire any other contractor? We can contract him to come in and train. And then we resolve that issue.
I don't know if he'll work as a contractor.
You have to have proof of insurance. I mean, you can propose it, but any contract, there has to be.
He knows
Insurance
all
for
the
that.
driveway stuff, so if we don't have him to do the driveway stuff, who's gonna do it? You gonna do it? Are you gonna do it?
Figure it out.
Do you know it? That's crazy. You have somebody who does it.
I guess I can say we got away with the other people doing it before. We had people doing it.
No.
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 No, we didn't.
No.
Well,
Right-of-way
not that, but
inspector.
we did have people go outside and look at driveways and look at them and make decisions, but I mean, it is what it is, but number one, it's kind of hard to say, no, we're not going to accept his resignation, even though it's 2.5 months late, almost 3 months late getting there, 2 months late getting to us. But then it'll just have to be something we have to figure out how we're going to do it. I don't know what we're going to do.
Is there a way of creating a position for driveways? So he is an an employee of the township that focuses on driveways until that training is complete. Cause right now it's like, you know, if
But why can't we hire him as a driveway inspector? There you go. We hire him as a township employee to inspect driveways.
But he
That's,
just said that's in Susan's job description.
Yeah, you're hiring someone to do a job that we have.
She
Well-
can't do it yet.
but here's the thing. Nothing says we can't have 2 driveway inspectors. As long as this is stipulated when we bring him on as a driveway inspector, it's for training. But he's still a township employee. He's an instructor for the township. As a township employee, we have him train him and then he's done.
Then at that point, just put the time frame on this handoff.
6 months.
That, I mean, seems like a long
I
time.
mean, that's feasible, correct? I mean, it would be any different than what he's doing right now, basically. He'd be a part-time township employee training Susan on driveway inspections. But it would resolve that issue then. Yeah? Would that resolve the issue that way?
I'm gonna choose not to speak on that.
Okay,
I'm gonna say yes, it would.
all right. So if that would do it, any more discussion on this motion?
So it'd be wait for him on the timeline.
Basically, what we'll have to wait for him, that how long he thinks it'll take them to train Susan up on her duties. But I'd probably say we're going into spring. How's our construction going on right now?
The construction?
Yep, usually we have pretty good spring construction. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have some driveways going in the spring that he'll be able to hands-on train, or I'd put it, limit of 6 months. But that's not the discussion right now. Right now is this motion.
Let's go ahead with the motion and then we'll.
Well, it's
The motion
it's
is.
still not clear. It's still not clear.
Okay,
Because if we accept his resignation, it
I would
takes him
ex-
out of employment.
I think you would have to accept the resignation without accepting, basically you have to break this up, because you're gonna have to accept his resignation.
Mr. Chair. Is
Go
it
ahead.
possible to rescind and then just table this item? And that point, the discussion is made and it could be a retirement announcement at a date or at this point, we are,
Well, at this
Again.
point right now, he said that he resigned on January 30th.
which is fine, but then at that point, we can have that conversation that effective this date. I mean, at this point, this is a crazy conversation to be having something that came 2 months ago. We're already in the weeds. So at this point, clean this up because we're still gonna be to this motion allowing a practice that people can pick and choose.
Why don't we just go forward with this motion and accept his resignation? And then we'll hire him as a person.
Wait a second, we can actually do this because it says here, I have one
You know
other,
what? I'm gonna rescind my motion.
this actually says I have one other commitment that's not related to the above. So basically what he's doing, training Susan, is not related to his resignation from maintenance department, public works and maintenance.
I didn't say.
I did.
John, you
Um,
rescind your
we-
second?
We just have to figure out because his employment was in Public Works then.
Mhm.
So we need to, he's resigning from Public Works, but driveway permits was part of Public Works, so we need to figure out where he reports to. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Please,
He does not report to Public Works.
Who do you report
The
to?
driveway inspection is not. It's part of the zoning. And that's how it became part of Susan's job description, is because it's zoning enforcement. It gets paid. Does it get paid out of?
It gets paid out of Road and Bridge, same as if our deputy clerk sends out, she does all the right-of-way permits. Her time comes out of the right-of-way and she is not a public works employee. So just, it's in the road right-of-way, so tracking
so
of
who
that.
does he report to for driveway permits?
Me.
You?
John, will you rescind your second? I rescind my motion.
Yes, I'll rescind my second.
Okay, I make a motion to allow the full resignation of Mike Olson from the Township of Linwood.
I'll second.
I'm moving second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. I've got a 13A, HR.
What? So we're not gonna hire him as a, or he just is because he always has been, an inspector for driveways. So that didn't get changed, right?
He is done with Linwood Township,
Period.
period.
Resignation.
100% period.
We'll have to figure out the.
We'll have to figure out how to do the driveways.
Bring that up. That'll have to be something brought up at another meeting. Okay. 13A, John?
So I had HR put on here. It's it's a difficult topic, but there's a lot of unknowns that have happened, over the last weeks. I have an issue with anybody kind of having the bulk of the target put on their backs. And that's kind of how I view, our HR department is, I don't know the history. I don't know what led up to this. So I can't judge, I can't speculate. But I don't like the feeling where you guys end up being targeted on a lot of these conversations. So I've been sitting there trying to figure out a way of, getting a little better handle on the HR stuff so that, you know, because if it wasn't you guys in HR and it was me and Andy or me and Mike, you know, we may have very well have been the recipient of all this attention. So, one thing that I'm going to make a motion on in a minute is I would like this board to consider, moving into professional HR services, just like we do an attorney, just like we do our engineering, company. We contract for professional services all the time. An HR professional company then we'd have to still have a liaison. That would be a focal point for complaints. And then they would have to determine if it's a complaint that needs to, invoke an HR company. Just like we talk and debate, and sometimes we say, okay, it's time to get the attorney involved, or it's time to call the engineer. Something similar, because then we've got an HR company that's professional. This is what they do. This is their focal point. And it takes any speculation off from anybody that's a supervisor or an employee of Linwood Township, because they're coming in, they're unbiased, they're neutral, they have no skin in the game, they don't have friendships. And this way, their focus is on the issue, not on the people. And again, it takes a lot of that pressure off from us here in the township. So, and so, go ahead.
That's pretty much what happened. Is something happened and HR gave it to the attorney and it moved forward from there. That didn't take the attention off of us, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think, because again, I don't know what happened. So I mean, I just think, me personally, I think it's worth trying to contract for these HR services. And then get things moving maybe in the right direction, or at least have meetings, and discuss this with an HR firm and see what they have to offer. It's no different than getting a price on, solar panels. Explore it, get the information, bring it back to the board.
Is that instead of the attorney?
Yeah, because I'm not so sure yet, and I realize that our attorney can deal with HR issues, but I don't, when I looked at their website, sure, they'll deal with your HR issues, but I didn't see that they had a trained professional. I seen a list of attorneys, but I didn't see any HR specific in there. So I just think it's a good exercise for us to go through to talk to some HR firms, and maybe it goes nowhere, maybe it does.
Okay with
But
me?
that's what I would be looking at. And again, it's nothing personal. I'm trying to help, you know, kind of defocus the attention and, you know, from you guys onto how do we move forward with an HR thing? So that's what this is. It's not to be offensive at all. So I hope you guys don't take it that way. And if you do, I apologize. But, what I'd like to do is make a motion that, let me back up here. What I'd like to do is I'm gonna make a motion that first thing we do is, move the HR committee, from, Carol and Bob over to Mike Parker for right now. And then allow Mike to, research and meet with HR firms, to figure out what they have to offer and bring back that information to the board for possible action.
I've got a motion on the floor. For me to take over HR and to research HR firms to bring back to the board anything I find out. Your second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. You're awful quick on that. Been moved and seconded. Discussion?
I'm just gonna say one thing. HR doesn't look for issues. Issues came to us, and like I say, and you know what? A lady brought it in a meeting about 8 days ago. She asked, what do I know about HR? I'm a 40-year carpenter. What do you think I know about HR? It came to HR. All I did was write to the attorney. We did nothing wrong. We didn't hunt it down. God bless you if you want to take this. God bless you for doing it. I'm just fine with it.
Other discussion.
I do have a question
That sounds punitive.
for Pam.
Oh, good.
Two people know about the HR issue right now. Can a third be brought in?
Yeah, that would be a violation of the open meeting law, but
That's my exact
it's a board
question.
decision.
Okay,
So the motion though. So you could say that at any point that the HR committee changes hands then? I mean, any time that it
Did you
changes
just
hands?
hear that's a violation of the open meeting law?
I heard that. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did hear that. Doing the research on a professional HR firm is not necessarily digging into this particular issue.
That's right.
So for Mike to take on HR and contact and discuss possible options with an HR firm has nothing to do with him being introduced into this issue that's going on right now.
Okay.
In fact, I thought that closed last Wednesday at the end of the meeting. I thought that was a done deal. I thought that's what we had all said at the meeting was that you made a motion to bring it back later and it was not seconded. And so I seen it as a closed issue. So to me, that book is closed. That file should be closed.
I did not think it was. I guess I'm wrong. If I didn't think it was, I did not think it was done. But I don't know. Pam?
We're gonna have training, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what pretty much came out of it, that there's gonna be training. I don't remember us, because I remember we called for it to come back and that did not pass,
Correct.
to come back.
Carol made the motion. It died due to a lack of a second.
Pam, you remembering?
Supervisor Ludke, would you like to speak up? Because you made the motion. No? Let's see, I can quote it. for
What are you asking?
They're asking, they thought it was a dead topic, but apparently. Let's see. Supervisor Ludke made the motion. You're correct. Supervisor Searing made a motion and there was no second. Supervisor Ludke made the motion that this board moves forward with some training, the subject matter leading into workshops and educational matter. Whatever we can do to get us educated for the ever-changing statutes that affect Minnesota townships. Supervisor Olson seconded it. Supervisor Olson offered an amendment to include staff in the training so everyone is equally educated. And Supervisor Ludke accepted the amendment, and the motion passed by unanimous vote of the board.
Okay, so this is pretty much a dead issue that they were working with then.
As long as you make it, we just wanted you to know that you
Understand,
can't
Carol.
know. That's
No,
all,
no,
that's
I
all.
understand.
Okay.
Actually, I'm just saying, but I don't know if I'm still enthused with this idea as it is.
Well, it still sounds punitive to me, but
All right, so we're back to the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Anything else, John?
No.
All right, we got 24-25 salt order. That's you.
All right, so I gotta have this submitted by Friday, the 29th. This is our annual salt order. I spoke with both maintenance personnel and we agreed that ordering 200 tons would be ideal for the 2024-2025 season. So I'm just looking for board approval to put forward the salt order tomorrow, hopefully.
The motion to put the salt order in. Is
I'll make that motion.
there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? Shed was full until this last couple of days. All right, no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. February 2024 Fire Department payroll, direct deposits 21054 to 21082. Electric fund transfer 21083 to 21084 in the amount of $14,257.80. A motion to pay.
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries with 4 aye, 3 aye, 4 ayes, 1 sustained. Consent agenda. We pulled out the attorney payment was pulled out of that.
You need to remove the entire claims list.
Pardon?
You need to remove the entire claims list.
Okay, then we'll do the entire claims list. So is there a motion to accept the consent agenda with the removal of the claims list?
I'll move to accept the consent agenda, minus the claims list.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. That means I gotta do this.
So the,
I bet she's already done.
so the total for the claims list with the removal of the Canadian Granville is gonna be $7,894.37.
I totally missed. Why? Why is that not getting paid?
Wait a minute.
I don't know, John has to pull it up.
What'd you say that?
What's the check number?
38,124.
Just claims.
No, it should be check number 041444. In the amount of $3,036. That's the Kennedy and Graven chartered.
And it's gonna be claim number 38124.
That is correct. So do I have a motion to pay the rest of the claims minus this claim?
I'll make a motion.
For second,
Second.
discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we want to discuss why this is taken out?
So I don't want to sit there and keep going back and forth on this resolution issue, but when I looked at this last claims list from Kennedy Graven, there's upwards of $2,400 in cost to deal with that whole resolution. And it never went anywhere. I mean, the meeting when we were supposed to learn everything from the attorney went completely south. The attorney, I mean, basically the attorneys said that there was a second resolution that was just like the first one, and then said we needed to get training. And that just seemed like an awful lot of money to spend for that as a result from an attorney. And I'm gathering that there should have been more. I mean, I think one of the comments that was made, I think you actually asked him to explain more, and it still went right back to training. I think you all need more training. I was like, upwards of $2,400 to be told that we need to get trained. It was, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay it. I'm just saying that when I read it, I kind of went, I think that as a supervisor looking at numbers, that was concerning that we're going to pay that kind of money for something that we didn't get a result on.
So do you want to bring this back at the next meeting for discussion? What do you want to do with this?
I'd personally like to have an opportunity to look at this a little bit further. I got a couple more questions on it before and like, again,
All your
you
questions
guys,
have to go to him.
they will. Oh, trust me, they will. I appreciate that, Supervisor Searing. They will go to him, and like I said, most likely it'll get paid. It's a service. But I have to me personally, I have to understand it. Now, all four of you can go ahead, make a motion and pay this, and I will just reject it. But I'm a little uncomfortable at this point agreeing to spend up to $2,400 on what we got delivered.
So do you want to table that? You want to?
I'll make a motion that we table this until the next meeting.
There's a second?
Second.
Moving to second to discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Supervisors?
Oh,
Oh,
Supervisor Serena post.
I'm sorry, I got one opposed, okay? So down here, next we have supervisors' comments. Supervisors first, Andy?
Just a reminder, this week, recycling is closed this Saturday, March 30th. We have the Easter egg hunt and everything going on back there. I know it's been posted and communicated around that the bins will be closed short time for during the event, but the actual recycling center is closed. And then Linwood Family Fun Day meets Monday here on the 1st at 6:30.
Okay, anything else?
Sir?
Milburn?
It was brought up that 3 members can't be at the park board meeting. Why? Why can't 3 members be at the park board meeting? Because there was 3 members at planning and zoning and nobody posted a 3-member meeting, correct?
It should be posted.
So it was a legal meeting for 3 members to be at?
Doesn't make the meeting illegal,
Okay,
but it raises some questions with the public as
Okay.
far as the open meeting law.
Okay.
So if anybody, if you intend to be attending all the meetings, just let me know and I can post it as such.
Okay.
Again, are you breaking a law? No, not by being in the same room. I can say that this board has always been very cautious with that and have asked me to post if there's a chance that it could be that way. Again, it's what is the perception to the public? So again, if you know that you're going to be attending, it's not a problem for me to post it.
It's always been our policy ever since I've been on the board.
okay,
Oh, I'm
sorry,
sorry.
go
Go ahead,
ahead.
Bob. No, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, I think that when we do our training, this is one of the things that we want to add on there is a clear understanding of the open meeting law. I've spent a lot of time talking to attorneys about it and getting examples. And I think it would just be good if we're all clear on what the law is versus our internal practices.
But isn't that what you've been asking all along? Is what are our policies? And you were told what our policies are. So don't we need to change our policies before we break them?
There's a difference to me between a policy and a practice. A practice is an informal, usually an undocumented way and method that things get done. To me, a policy is something where I can go out and there's a spot on an internet or on a website that I can go to and I can see what our policies are. And right now I can't see, I mean, there's a lot of policies I can ask about, but I can't see.
Bob?
Old warming house. There's some mixed thoughts about the old warming house. Chief, you guys still interested in that? You're not? Okay. I believe Parks does not want it. Okay, so they don't want it. So, I'm gonna start getting some quotes, proposals for demolition of it. I do have a volunteer who would be more than happy to do it, but I'll bring that back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, very good. Next.
It's been brought to the attention of the school forest on doing selective harvest. We will 100% have DNR backing on it before we do this, but I just want to bring it to this group. Just that we're gonna be talking about it. I have a school forest meeting in 5 days and it's gonna be brought up. And I just want you to know that we will be talking about it. Alyssa, did you hear from Rico, the solar guy, or the other one?
No.
I've heard nothing from either one of them, so whatever. I'll try to get a hold of them. When is this group gonna decide how we're cutting 75,000 from the budget?
Well, that's what I was gonna bring up too. Thank you very much.
Because, I mean, I don't want Parks and I don't want John and I to have a dream of filling a position if all of a sudden this group's gonna say, not a chance, see ya. So when are we gonna do that?
Schedule a meeting, sit down and go over that budget.
Okay.
It's gonna be something that's not gonna be just a couple minutes
Okay, I agree.
thing to do. I think we need to schedule it, find a time when everybody's available. Like I said, I'll be gone next month, but I can definitely call in and we can do it that way. To go over this stuff, so. What's the board's pleasure? Have we got your calendar out when you wanna have a special meeting to figure this out? Pam?
Typically, we don't set the budget or finalize the budget until November or December. See how you get through this year
Okay,
and then determine where those cuts are going to be.
it's hard to think about a position if you're not gonna find out till November, we can't afford the position.
Yeah, when you hire it, now you figured out what you're gonna do with them as you get them hired.
We can afford them in 24. The budget for 24 is where that was at, right?
Yep.
It's so whether we can afford to continue with that employment into 25. That's where the budgets are gonna get cut.
So
Off.
does anybody wanna hold off for a little bit, or what do you wanna do?
I don't think we can afford to hold off. I
I
mean,
mean,
look at
it's-
the parks. I don't
I
think
mean,
we can
it's-
afford it.
You wanna sit down next month and take a look at this thing and try to whittle down the budget 75,000, or what do you wanna do?
You talking May after you get back?
I can do it in May. I'll be more than happy. I'll be here in May. I come back on May 9th.
Yeah, that's-
So we talked last summer, close to fall, about like quarterly, looking at our budget, just so that we'd all stay kind of in line with where things are at. Should we, because that would be, we went through first quarter is setting the budget and stuff, so it'd probably be June-ish, something like that before we'd have the second quarter. So maybe that can be part of the discussion when we do that.
Yeah, that'd be a good time.
That way we're not setting two separate meetings. You know, I think we'd be able to cover it all in that one, and I think that would still be early enough in the year to adjust.
You raise proposal, wait till June, have a special meeting in June to discuss the budget and the $75,000 cut on the budget.
Correct.
All right, just bring it back and it will set a schedule for June. Everybody's good with that? Bob?
Does that mean we're not acting on the position we're trying to fill until June?
Well, it sounds like we have the money for 24.
I agree.
I think,
Okay, so we're still doing that,
Yeah,
John. Okay.
let's talk.
Yep, I'm good.
John?
I'm good.
Yep.
I'm good.
I had something on my mind, but that left a long time ago. Alyssa?
I normally have the packet on my sheet, but I don't. I'm assuming you guys have this new packet. Okay, treasurer's report.
Yes.
So that's just as of March 21st where the accounts were at. I have a couple questions for the board. Excel Energy. If anybody would like to tell the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission what you think about what's going on, I have this lovely survey. If anybody would like to fill that out, let me know. And then it was brought to my attention that the Kubota grant is available again this year. Paul and I applied for it last year. There was only one grant. This year, they are awarding 10 grants of $10,000 and 10 $50,000 grants as well. So I'm looking for the board's permission to apply for that grant again.
I'll,
Yes,
Great
Yeah,
idea.
go for it.
I'll make a
It's great-
motion to allow Alyssa to move forward with the Kubota grant.
Second,
Been seconded discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, motion carries, continue.
And then, Andy, I did send you the recycling check-in. I don't know if anybody had time to read the recycling check-in that was throughout there. I didn't know if it wanted to be read to the public or we're just gonna leave it as is.
I saw it in the consent agenda, so I thought it was placed, but that's part of the other thing I was gonna talk at the next meeting is to just get the standing committees to be able to, Paul and I are meeting on Friday.
Okay.
And then we'll have an actual check-in of the department.
Okay.
But yeah, it's in the consent agenda.
That's all I got for now.
Go ahead. Pam?
This is just, I don't know, if board needs to give permission or just a heads up for you, but the Anoka County Assessor's Office is looking to get permission to be able to access Rum Rivers, our building permits through Rum River. They, they do it with some of the other communities that Rum River works with. In the past, the assessor used to send somebody out here to take a look at our building permits so that they could accurately assess people if they had additions or accessory buildings or that type of stuff. So basically, I was just asking if it would be, if Linwood Township would allow them to access building permits through Rum River. I have no opinion one way or the
Is
other.
that the assessor's way to not leave his office now?
They haven't been coming out here for a few years, so I don't know. I don't know how they're getting the information. They're not getting it from us. We used to have to send reports.
send
They
them.
don't- You send them?
I'm sorry, I send them monthly, I send monthly reports to him. And so when he asks me for just the building reports, for new homes and stuff, that's normally what it is. So I
Did
think,
not know that.
yes, yep, I took that over from Sandy.
Never mind.
So.
We're gonna say no.
There
They
you go.
can't do it.
Next.
I guess I am curious, does the board intend to do some training or?
Definitely. What we told them we're gonna do that, we're definitely gonna do that. Just have
Can
to,
you tell us when and where?
I was gonna say that, I thought that was Andy's motion was to move forward with it, so that would have,
Date.
okay.
What, okay. I will see what I can get set up.
What, would you like more definition or, because again, it just seems like we always throw stuff over at staff and never really define what we're asking for.
Could we put the calendar on the agenda for the next meeting? Because like I said, we've got a couple other dates to set and then we can just set the time to look at everything. Because
Try to find dates.
so you've got a lot of onesie twosie dates we got to throw in and lock into with other things and then being able to hit it all. So
The other thing I'm thinking of too is specifically what are we looking to get trained? You know what I mean? I know Pam can come up with a awesome list and it's probably better than what we could come up with, but again, I just always feel guilty when we throw something over the fence without any additional
I
information.
really think Jason had a list,
I think Jason
You
did.
have a list? All right.
but you're gonna talk to him, so you could ask him.
I could.
Would you mind?
No, I can do that. If Pam doesn't want to, I can certainly do that.
I didn't want to.
What else you got, Pam?
I just think, the last few days have been kind of wild around here. Where generally we get criticism. I have to say it was a nice mix for our plow guys is what I'm referring to. It was a nice mix of conversations with the public. I'm going to say it was a 50-50 mix of people that were very grateful for what got done. Obviously, there was some that were not happy, but as office staff, we tried to explain the conditions of gravel roads are not conducive to putting a plow down on them. And again, the hours that the guys were out doing it, that were out again today, they were out 4 hours before in Oka County. So again, to express that, I know how hard the guys are working. And I think just a reminder too that there should be no special plowing. In the past, township was allowed to do their plowing with private residents after all of the roads had been done. And that has gone away. That went away a couple of years ago and was talked about at the plow meeting. That we did get a complaint about a supervisor plowing his own driveway. So I just want that to be a reminder that that is not possible anymore for private driveways to be done because of the liability. So again, very, very grateful to our to our guys. Like I say, they've been knocking themselves out. I've barely seen them tonight. Again, call, are you okay? We haven't seen you or haven't heard from you in a few hours. Are you okay out there? So, again, just wanted to express that because it's what we deal with on a daily basis. So,
Anything else?
I know nothing.
Hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Go ahead.
I apologize, I should ask. Part of the township website, putting
Yes.
things on, would it be you? Board member? Website, and it can wait until after Easter. I know there's a lot of stuff on there for the senior center, but I was looking for it just the other day. Just looking right up. I got.
How about a link?
That's fine too. Yeah, somewhere just on the front page would be great. I got one person of interest on our Facebook page, and then of course that kind of went. dead. I don't know what happened with that. But I was just curious if you can just move it. Like I said, I can wait until after.
The trick of it is there's, when you posted it, there were probably 4 or 5 other ones. And how do I decide that Parks is more important than planning and zone? I can't put them all on the front.
Yeah.
So,
Of course. Yeah.
but can I just have a minute? You, if that lady is interested in Parks, please send her application over to you. Okay.
Yeah, and that was gonna fall into my other question for the park attendant. Or is that's interested, if we're gonna kind of. Didn't forget about you, we're just kind of want that person just to.
Is that in the office?
Yes.
I come to get that after the meeting.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for bringing that back around. I had asked before who would be doing the interviews for that. But again, it was still up in the air on whether board was hiring or not. So,
Well, I'd like to call the person, because like she says, you don't want to leave them hanging. So I'd just like to call them and kind of explain to that person.
well, that's our protocol in the office.
Okay.
If,
Oh, so you'll call?
yeah, I mean,
Okay,
you're
awesome.
welcome to, I
Oh,
think
no, you
it's,
can.
I think it's really someone you should look
Is it-
to. I think it would be a good fit.
Okay,
So, again, if the board could decide who's going to,
Carrie, when we talked about it yesterday at our park board meeting, we decided Carrie and David. Their initial interview. Carrie and David.
so I think, again, to Supervisor Ludke's point, there's no process here. So I think that needs to be in place.
I'm all for our process in
I-
the meantime, if you want to send.
That would be atypical to have committee members contact applicants.
then send it.
But
to
if
me.
the board directs it,
I'll do it.
he stops in, I can,
Well,
yes,
if-
I will send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Again, atypical, but let's do it.
I am atypical.
Anything else? Hearing nothing else. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I
I.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:03.